10 more years had passed since Sophie first held her daughter in her arms. The little girl, Lily, was now full of life, curious eyes, laughter that filled the house, and the love for colors inherited from her father. Michael often let her paint beside him, her small brushstrokes bold and messy, while Sophie watched them with a heart full of warmth. Life wasn't always simple. Sophie still worked long shifts at the hospital, facing nights that drained her strength. Michael had moments when old scars from his illness returned, reminding him of the fragility of life. But every evening, when they gathered around the dinner table, those struggles melted into something stronger: family. One summer evening, the three of them walked together in the park. Lily skipped ahead, chasing butterflies, while Sophie and Michael strolled hand in hand. "Do you ever think about it?" Sophie asked softly. "How different everything could have been if you hadn't been in that hospital?" Michael glanced at her, his smile tender. "I think about it all the time. But then I look at you and her," he nodded toward their daughter, who was giggling among the flowers, "and I realize everything we went through led us here. Every pain, every doubt, it was worth it." Sophie's eyes glistened as she leaned against him. "We've built something beautiful, haven't we?" "We've built a life," he said. Lily turned back to them, holding a daisy in her hand. She ran up and tucked it behind Sophie's ear before slipping her tiny fingers into both of theirs. The three of them stood there, framed by the golden light of sunset, bound by a love that had grown stronger with every year. And as Sophie looked at her family, she thought about the path that had led them here. A hospital room, a confession whispered in the rain, a promise at the altar, a home filled with laughter. Their story was no longer just about survival. It was about love that had flourished through every season of life.
Years passed in what felt like the blink of an eye. The little girl who once ran through the garden chasing butterflies was now a young woman, ready to step into the world on her own. Lily stood tall in her graduation gown, her cap slightly tilted, a confident smile on her face that reminded Sophie so much of Michael. As the ceremony ended and applause filled the air, Sophie felt tears slip down her cheeks. Michael squeezed her hand, his eyes shining with pride. "There she is," he whispered, "our little girl, all grown up." Sophie laughed softly through her tears. "I still remember the day we brought her home. I was so afraid I wouldn't be enough for her." Michael turned to her, his gaze full of the same steady love he had carried all these years. "You were more than enough. You gave her everything: love, strength, compassion. She is who she is because of you." Later, as the three of them stood together outside, Lily ran into their arms, hugging them tightly. "I couldn't have done this without you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Sophie kissed her daughter's forehead. "You've always had everything you needed inside you. We just walked beside you." Michael placed an arm around both of them. "And no matter where you go next, that won't change. We'll always be here." The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. Sophie realized in that moment that life was a circle. What began in a hospital room with fear and uncertainty had blossomed into a family, into a legacy of love. She held onto Michael's hand and Lily's shoulder, her heart overflowing. Their story wasn't just about healing anymore. It was about passing love forward, stronger, brighter, and endless. Lily had grown into a young woman with her mother's compassion and her father's creativity. She studied art history at university, often calling home to share her discoveries. Sophie and Michael listened with pride, their hearts swelling as they watched their daughter blossom. One autumn afternoon, Lily visited a local gallery for a class project. While admiring a piece of abstract art, she accidentally bumped into someone. Her notebook slipped from her hands. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, bending to pick it up. A young man crouched beside her, handing it back with a gentle smile. "No harm done. I think we were both too caught up in the painting." His name was Adam, a fellow student with a quiet passion for art and a kindness that immediately drew Lily in. Their conversations began over assignments and critiques, but soon spilled into long walks under the trees, coffee shared at small cafes, and laughter that echoed into the night. Weeks turned into months, and the connection between them deepened. Lily often found herself telling her parents about him, her eyes glowing in a way Sophie recognized all too well. One evening, when Adam came over for dinner, Michael watched him carefully. He saw the way Adam looked at Lily, with the same mixture of awe and devotion he once had for Sophie. After the meal, Sophie whispered to Michael as they washed dishes together, "Do you see it?" He smiled softly, nodding. History has a way of repeating itself. Later that night, as Lily walked Adam to the door, Sophie and Michael exchanged a quiet glance. Their love had begun in the most unexpected place, and now, watching their daughter take her first steps into love, they realized their story was part of something bigger, a chain of hearts, each finding its match, each proving that love once found has the power to ripple through generations. Sophie leaned her head against Michael's shoulder, her voice warm with gratitude. "It all began in room 214, and look where it's brought us." Michael kissed her hair, his eyes on their daughter. To forever. Lily and Adam's relationship blossomed like spring after a long winter. Their days were filled with laughter, long walks by the river, late-night talks about dreams, and quiet moments where words weren't even needed. Adam's gentle nature balanced Lily's spirited energy, and together they created a harmony that felt unshakable. One evening, as the sun melted into shades of pink and gold, Adam invited Lily to the art gallery where they first met. The halls were nearly empty, and soft music echoed through the space. In front of the very painting that had brought them together, Adam turned to her with nervous but determined eyes. "Lily," he whispered, taking her hands, "from the moment I met you, I knew something had changed in me. You're not just part of my life, you are my life. Will you marry me?" Lily's breath caught. Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded, unable to speak at first. Finally, she found her voice. "Yes, Adam, 1,000 times yes." The moment they shared was quiet, intimate, and perfect. But the real magic unfolded when they returned home to tell Sophie and Michael. They entered the living room hand in hand, their joy impossible to hide. Lily's voice trembled with excitement as she announced, "Mom, Dad, we're engaged!" For a heartbeat, the room was silent. Then Sophie covered her mouth, her eyes filling with tears, while Michael stood frozen, overwhelmed by emotion. Sophie rushed forward to embrace them. "Oh, my sweet girl," she cried softly. "This is everything your father and I ever hoped for you." Michael shook Adam's hand firmly, then pulled him into a hug. "Welcome to the family, son." That night, as everyone sat around the dinner table, laughter filled the house. The glow of the candles lit up their faces, but the brightest light came from within, from love itself, passed down, shared, and now renewed in the next generation. Later, when the house was quiet, Sophie leaned against Michael, whispering, "Do you remember the hospital, 214? Michael kissed her forehead, smiling. "I remember every second, and now our daughter has found her forever, just as we did." Their story, once born of struggle and hope, had now come full circle. Love had not only healed them, it had built a legacy. The morning sun streamed gently through the curtains, filling Lily's childhood home with golden light. The house buzzed with quiet excitement, flowers being arranged, dresses being steamed, soft music playing in the background. Sophie watched her daughter from the doorway, her heart full. Lily stood before the mirror in a flowing gown of ivory, her eyes shimmering with both nerves and joy. "You look just like I dreamed you would," Sophie whispered, her voice trembling. "Radiant, brave, and ready." Lily turned, hugging her mother tightly. "Mom, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you and Dad. You taught me what love looks like. Real love." Meanwhile, across town, Adam was adjusting his tie for the 10th time. His best man teased him, but Adam's nerves couldn't be calmed. When Michael arrived to escort him, the two men shared a quiet moment. "You know," Michael said with a smile, "when I first met Lily's mother, I was as nervous as you are right now. But trust me, if you love her through the storms and the sunshine, you'll never go wrong." The ceremony took place in a sunlit garden by the river. Guests gathered among rows of white chairs, surrounded by the scent of roses and the soft strumming of violins. As Lily walked down the aisle, Adam's eyes filled with tears. It was as if time slowed, the world falling away until only the two of them remained. When they stood together, hand in hand, the vows they exchanged were simple but powerful. Promises of patience, kindness, and unshakable devotion. "I will love you," Adam said, his voice steady, "not only in the easy days, but in the hardest ones too. You are my forever." "And I will love you," Lily replied, "through every season, every change, every breath. You are my home." Applause erupted as they sealed their vows with a kiss. That evening, the celebration glowed with music, dancing, and laughter. Sophie and Michael watched from their table, holding hands as they saw their daughter twirl in Adam's arms. For them, this wasn't just a wedding. It was proof that love endures, that from broken beginnings can come the most beautiful endings. Later, under a sky lit with stars, Lily and Adam stole away for a quiet moment. "This is just the beginning," Adam whispered, brushing her hair back. Lily smiled, her eyes sparkling. "And I wouldn't want it with anyone else." Their story, born of a chance meeting, strengthened through time, and now celebrated by all who loved them, had become a new chapter in the timeless book of love.